Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Cornwall. I'm the Internet and Technology Consultant for the Alaska State Library, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 2015 Public Librarians Monthly Chat. I'm subbing for your normal host, Public Library Coordinator Julie Niederhauser. Today, I am very pleased to have on our show Kristin Pekoll from the American Library Association Office of Intellectual Freedom. She's the assistant director there, and Kristin started her career as a young adult librarian in a small town in Wisconsin 12 years ago. In 2009, she went through a multiple book challenge of young adult LGBTQ titles. Her passion and dedication for fighting censorship was only flamed by this experience. She served as the Wisconsin's Intellectual Freedom Roundtable Chair. In 2014, she was hired as the Assistant Director for the Office of Intellectual Freedom at ALA in Chicago. Most days, Kristin can be found talking and supporting librarians and teachers going through challenges. She gets between 4 to 6 new censorship reports or questions a week. Some cases are big and public, some are small and confidential. All of them are important. And I'd like to just go ahead and say, take it away, Kristin.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. Thank you again for inviting me to chat with you today. This is a great opportunity to introduce you to our office and how we can support you. Starting from the right, we have Shamika, who is our administrative assistant, and Barbara Jones is our director. Then you've got me in the middle, Jonathan Kelly, who is one of our program directors, and Nanette Perez, also a program director. She's in charge of the entire Banned Books Week. And Deborah Caldwell Stone is our deputy director as well as our local legal expert. So we go to her for all sorts of questions about that. So today I'm going to focus more on censorship and challenges and how we can support you with that. Specifically, we're going to be talking about book challenges, but don't hesitate to ask any questions at any time. I really want to make this webinar useful to your librarians in Alaska. So what is censorship? Censorship can happen at any time, from any location, at any place. It could be from a parent, which is where we get most of our censorship cases from. It could be a pastor, a politician, or a principal. People can censor books, music, student newspapers, yearbooks, internet, social media. It can happen in schools, public libraries, classrooms, prisons, bookstores, colleges. It's any kind of suppression of speech. Every case is unique. You don't have to be a member of ALA or a librarian or work in a library, but at any point anyone can call our office and everything is confidential. If there's talk of a challenge and you want to be prepared, you can call us. If you have someone who has submitted a form, you can call us. If policy is being ignored, you can call us. People could go around the policy and go right to a board member or the mayor. If that happens, you can call us. If the challenge has gone to committee and the book has been retained, you can still call us. We'd love to say thank you. Every challenge at any point is important. An expression of concern is an inquiry that has judgmental overtones. And this doesn't actually have to be in the library. This could be discussion at the gym or at the grocery store or in a play group or at a school. It's just a verbal opinion about a book or the inclusion of the book, reading a book, having it on the curriculum. We have an oral complaint. This is usually directed at someone of authority. Usually someone's coming into the library and they're talking and they want to express their complaint to someone in the library. A lot of times things start out as expression of concerns or oral complaints, and they can lead to more, but sometimes they just stop right there. And a lot of times people just want to express their concern about something. A written complaint is asking for the removal. They're asking for something specific. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's removal of the book. Sometimes it's moving the book to a different collection. Sometimes it's labeling a book, or restricting who has access to a book, or requiring permission slips for a book. It's written. A lot of libraries have specific reconsideration forms that a patron would need to be filled out. A lot of times people might just send an email and request that a book be removed. This is specifically where we would love to hear from you and have it reported to our Office for Intellectual Freedom. If it comes in writing and it's a formal request and they want it removed, we want to hear about it. Even if after they've filled out the form or they've written the email, they change their mind. Maybe they've had a discussion with somebody and things are understood a little bit better, but we still want to hear about the challenge. I'm going to include in the chat box a link to where you can report any challenges. There is an online challenge reporting form. You can also call us. You can email us. We usually send out a call for any challenge reports once a year to try to prompt people to call in and let us know any challenges that came up. So other things that can still happen are a public attack. This is a publicly, this isn't just a conversation. This is a blog. This is a protest. This is a letter in the newspaper. If you have situations like this, our office can also help with strategy, but this is a form of censorship. Actual censorship is a change in the axis of the status, and I should tell you I had an error in my slides when I sent this to Daniel, and I'm going to copy the text that should be there. A change in the axis of material based on the content of the work and made by governing authorities or its representatives. Such changes include exclusion, redaction, restriction, removal, or age grade level changes. You can see this happens quite a bit when if there's any nudity in the books. A lot of times people will put clothes on the kids, or they'll block it out. That's a form of censorship as well. A lot of times cases present as a right side versus a wrong side. But patrons are not the enemy. It's easy to put a challenger in the role of a villain, but they are a person that cares, and they have the right to express that concern. So rather than conflict, hopefully discussion and openness can help alleviate the animosity. Step one is to remember to breathe. We want to make sure and not judge people when they come and talk to us. They have valid concerns and they come to us with good intentions. It's not about the specific person and it's not about me. It's It's not about who goes to church or who has kids, who has an education. It's just about listening to their concerns and hearing them out and seeing what we can do for them and serve them as a patron with an opinion. We ask that librarians really appreciate the diversity of opinions. This is what libraries stand for. They include the opinions of our patrons. I know it's easy to say to just breathe, but deep breathing increases the supply of oxygen to our brains and stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes a state of calmness. So breathing techniques can really help you feel connected to your body and to bring awareness away from the worries and the stress, and it can help quiet the mind. At this point, you might also decide if the time that this is the time and the place is the best opportunity for a discussion. You may need to make a referral to a different person if a challenge is presented to a staff member or a circulation clerk, a janitor, a shelver. They may need to make a referral to the right person. We always ask that, we always recommend that the contact information is always recorded. Make sure you write down the person's name and number and how to best get a hold of them. Even if they're not filling out a written request, most likely a director or a librarian will want to follow up with that person. You also might want to make an appointment to speak more at length and to hear their concerns at a place that's not so public. A lot of times people will approach you when you're on a service desk. So at that time, if it's not a good time, you might want to make an appointment, meet with them in an office, in a conference room, so you can focus specifically on what they have to say. This tactic will also allow you time to reread your library's policies and get familiar with the materials that's in question and to find reviews that could be helpful or to call us for help. I'm told I have an expressive face. So for me, it's important to remember to school your emotions, and this goes back to the not judging people, to be compassionate about their concerns without agreeing to their point of view, and to not make any promises about what you can do for them. This just is a breakdown. This is a great strategy for how to kind of listen to them, ask them what you can do for them, give information regarding your policies, the library mission, and just see what you can offer to help them with, and to thank them for coming in and talking to you. Challenges come in many shapes and sizes, and each challenge situation is unique. And each librarian facing the challenge confronts a uniquely difficult position at their institution and in their community. But listening is always a key step. If patrons don't feel like they're being heard, they might get angry. And anger can definitely escalate the situation. After listening to your patron, you might have an opportunity to share your library's mission statement. Library policy is often created with the mission in the forefront of their minds. This helps patrons understand why the library has this position. Don't assume that the patrons understand the First Amendment and the freedom to read. You might want to consider having a copy of the First Amendment, the Library Bill of Rights, or the Freedom to Read statement located in your library. And I had, let's see if I can, what I did with it, a slide printout of those. Forgive me, I don't have that one readily available. But I do have something I want to share with you. So when I went through my challenge in West Bend, Wisconsin, I was lucky enough to have some great support that came and spoke at our library board meetings. And Joyce Latham is an instructor of intellectual freedom. And I'm going to fast forward it a little bit here. All right. So that really inspires me, and it always reminds me to go back to the foundation of why we have the Library Bill of Rights, why we have the Freedom to Read statement, to our library's mission statements. I'm going to share links with you in the chat box that, for these particular documents so you can find them and access them. That's the Freedom to Read statement and the Library Bill of Rights. These documents are based on the concept that librarians call what are the basis of the concept that librarians call intellectual freedom. It encompasses the right of all library users to seek and to receive information on all subjects from all points of view without restriction and without the scrutiny of others. If your patron has read all of this, understands the policy, the time it might take to, follow the policy, and still wants to move forward, my advice is always to follow your policy to a T. I could provide tons of examples of situations where not following a policy has bitten a library in the ass. Be open and honest. Even if you don't personally agree with everything that's in the book, and you don't have to love the book, but your library is defending the right of others to read it and to formulate their own opinions. So every policy, every library policy is different. So I'm not going to go too much further into library policies, but we're always happy to consult about policy, to help you review it. Just make sure that whatever policy you have in place, that is the one that you follow. So support. Sometimes you just need someone who gets it. And let me tell you, that is not social media. So we just received our brand new Intellectual Freedom Manual this week, yesterday actually, and I'm going to quote you directly from a chapter. It says, "Challenges can be stressful. Find a loyal personal friend or colleague with whom you can discuss the situation confidentially and not be concerned that your words will be repeated to others. Avoid blogs and discussion lists where it is easy for communication to fall into the wrong hands or for misinformation to spread. In a world of emails, embrace your telephone." So this slide is a little bit wordy, but I wanted to include some of the things that our office can help you with and support you of. And one of the main things that I wanted to be able to tell you about was that I'm in the office almost every day from 8:30 to 4:30 or 8 to 4, depending upon the day. And I'm always available by phone if anybody ever just needs to talk, to vent, to be frustrated, to cry out the stress. Believe me, you would not be the first librarian to call and cry because things are just so overwhelming, the negativity that happens. We have a lot of experience with challenges, so we might be able to offer suggestions, like I said, with policy, communicating with the public. We can be a confidential sounding board. Ideas can go by us. We can also write letters. A formal letter of support from ALA as a nationally recognized organization can sometimes encourage decision makers to adhere to the First Amendment and to protect every person's right to information. So sometimes that can be very helpful. I'm going to share a few other resources that we have available. So like I said, the new Intellectual Freedom Manual has just been released. This is a fantastic resource that offers a lot of legal explanations why the freedom to read is protected by the First Amendment. It can give you good Q&As and answers and interpretations of the Library Bill of Rights. Pat Scales recently wrote the book Books Under Fire. It's a hit list of banned and challenged children's books. We also have the resource guide, which is put out every year. I'm sorry, not every year, like every 2 or 3 years, by Robert Doyle. And this is a great resource that offers a lot of background information about specific challenges. So if it's listed, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, it's going to show you case by case by case every time the book has been challenged, if it's been retained. Gives you a lot of great history and background to a lot of the different books. One of the resources that I go to all the time is Protecting Intellectual Freedom in Your Public Library. This has a lot of great cases and scenarios, frontline stories, a lot of examples to kind of go by. It's very helpful. And then I have some other resources that are electronic, and I'll put those in the chat box here. So not censorship, but selection. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I wanted to also include where you can get those books. Rather than doing this one by one, I'm going to try this. Really? I didn't know that. Well, I'm glad I included June in the
Yeah, this is
yeah,
Daniel, thank you. And yeah, June was our Intellectual Freedom Chair of the Alaska Library Association for many, many years, and just such a strong supporter of intellectual freedom.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, so she knows what she's talking about. So I also included the electronic resources, not censorship but selection, a really great Q&A. The workbook for selection policy writing is really fantastic before you get to the challenge stage, where you really want to work out how you select the books in your collection. And that can be a great defense mechanism before a challenge comes. You can say, well, we chose this book because it meets our selection policy. And then there are some great strategies and tips in dealing with concerns about library resources. Almost all of these you can find on our website, and I did include the links here for that. So before a challenge even comes to your library, what are some things that you can do? Often challenges start at the front desk or even in the shelves. It's important that all of your staff members understand the library's reconsideration policy and know the proper procedures for responding to library users' concerns. It's also important to educate the library's governing body about the process and why public libraries include materials that may be considered controversial. A lot of times library board members and local
Kristin, we lost you on audio.
officials don't have training in intellectual freedom issues and may not understand why we have controversial stuff and why we protect it and the freedom to read. So it's important to train them as well. I'm just going to share a quick story. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're a little high-pitched, but it went silent for like about 30 seconds. But I think you're good now. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Just making sure my headphones are plugged in properly. Okay. So before a challenge can even come to your library, a lot of times they start at the front desk or in the shelves. So important things to do are to train and educate your library staff. It's important that all the staff members are included in training for library reconsideration policy, intellectual freedom, any of the proper procedures for responding to library users' concerns. It's also important to educate your library's governing body about the process and why public libraries include materials that may be considered controversial. This is for library board members as well as local officials. So a small story of an example of this is in our challenge in West Bend. We had a very supportive library board, and it had 9 members on it. And when the challenger didn't feel like she was going to make a difference or get the results that she wanted by going through the library board and the library staff, she went to our city's alderman. And the aldermen weren't aware that we had any kind of policy in place or that we supported the freedom to read. Our alderman just went public with saying that they wanted the books out of the library and that the library was a local porn shop. So it's a good idea to also include local officials who are going to be appointing your library board members, that they understand intellectual freedom issues as well.
Sounding better.
Am I still a little Minnie Mouse? Okay. Why is this all important? Why do we do what we do? We have received over 13,000 challenges since 1990. That's more than 1 challenge a day. And we've done the math. I can tell you that. 80% of the challenges go unreported. That is a lot of books off the shelves that we don't know about. We had 311 challenges in 2014 alone. These are the books in 2014 that made our top 10 list. And I just often think about how some of these books cannot be, that some kids aren't going to get, some people are not going to get access to these books because of challenges that we weren't able to.
Hey, Kristin, you were... Hi, Kristin, are you there?
Here, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Daniel?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, great. Okay. If you wouldn't mind updating me to moderator. Daniel, can you update me to moderator so I can flip a slide?
I just did.
All right, fantastic. So this is the top 10 for 2014. And one of the things that we realized when we were looking at the list and when we were discussing the different trends that come up from year to year is that, okay. I'm wondering if there's a delay. Okay, I can do it now. So that 8 out of the 10 of these top 10 books have diverse content. And we define diverse content as non-white characters, non-Christian characters, so different religions, different sexualities, different genders, and often in a non-Western setting. I realize I've spent a lot of time painting a rather bleak picture for intellectual freedom, given that some of these challenges and trends, and I don't want to minimize these developments, but I also want to emphasize the good news, and that is this. In a majority of cases, and in spite of incredible pressure, these challenges are not successful, and the material remains accessible to users. This is only thanks to the commitment and dedication of community members, teachers, students, and librarians who stand up in defense of intellectual freedom. And while sometimes I am discouraged by individuals and groups' efforts to remove or restrict materials that contain ideas they disagree with, I'm constantly amazed at the enduring power of the written word. The very fact that books are still such a major force in our society that people believe they must remove them, this, I believe, is a cause for celebration. Books are very, very, very powerful. They entertain, they inform, they can soothe and comfort. Books allow people to explore new and perhaps difficult ideas and to find themselves in libraries. And sometimes books just allow you to escape. They can change your life. So that's what I have for you today. Does anybody have any questions? I've included ways that you can contact myself and my office. So people can get a hold of me if they've seen the recording.
Beth and Joy may be typing something, but the chat bubble has been up so long, I wonder if it's not a technical glitch. But we can certainly give it another minute or so. Really appreciate your presentation. I knew some of what OAF does,
okay,
but just your emphasis on availability really sounds like, you know, we can call you anytime for any reason.
Yes, definitely. Even if it's just questions, I know that sometimes people are calling to say, is this really a challenge? If we just want to, you know, put labels on these books, is this censorship? You know, how would you handle this? Or so we can kind of help field questionable situations, things like that. And Beth and Joy, thank you for joining me. Again, if you guys ever have any questions or want to talk, I'm here.
Well, thank you very much, Kristin. We appreciate you spending time with us and explaining the different ways that ALA can help us out in challenge materials and censorship. So thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye.